This happened 4 years ago when I'd just moved into a small rental house on the outskirts of Portland. It was cheap, quiet, and came with a big attic that the landlord said was mostly storage. I didn't think much of it. I lived alone, worked night shifts at a printing company, and usually slept through the day. The house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac with only one other home nearby, an older couple who kept to themselves. The first couple of nights were fine. The place creaked a lot, but old wood tends to do that. I was unpacking slowly, filling boxes in the attic with things I didn't need right away. It smelled dusty and dry up there, like old insulation and forgotten cardboard. There was a small round window, half covered with grime, and a single pull chain bulb that flickered whenever I turned it on. The first weird thing happened on my third night. I was getting ready for work when I heard something fall upstairs, like a box tipping over and spilling. I froze. I hadn't been in the attic since the weekend. Thinking maybe the rafters shifted, I ignored it. When I came home early the next morning, the light in the attic was on. That stopped me cold. I knew I'd switched it off. I grabbed a kitchen knife and climbed the pull-down ladder, calling out a shaky, "Hello!" Nobody answered. The bulb buzzed faintly above, casting long shadows over boxes and plastic bins. I scanned every corner, nothing but dust, spider webs, and my own stored junk. I clicked off the light, shut the attic door tight, and told myself I'd probably just forgotten. Over the next week, small things started going missing. Snacks from the pantry, batteries, a flashlight. I thought maybe I was being careless until one morning I found muddy footprints leading from the kitchen to the back door. The prints were small, bare feet, too small for mine. That was when I set up a cheap motion sensor I ordered online. I aimed it right at the attic entrance and linked it to my phone. For 2 nights, nothing happened. On the third night, at 2:43 a.m, my phone buzzed. Motion detected, attic. I froze in bed. I could hear faint shifting above, the sound of fabric brushing wood, slow, deliberate movement. I didn't go up, I didn't even move, I just listened until everything went quiet again. The next morning, I called the landlord. He laughed it off. "Probably squirrels," he said. "That roof's old." But when I asked if anyone had ever lived up there, his tone changed slightly. "No, of course not. Why would you ask?" He hung up before I could say more. That evening I came home and noticed something that made my stomach drop. The attic ladder was already pulled down. I knew I'd left it up. I could see the thin rope swaying slightly, like someone had just climbed through. I grabbed my phone flashlight, knife in hand, and stepped carefully up the creaking rungs. The air felt warmer than usual, heavy and damp. At first, I didn't see anything unusual, just my boxes, the same old bulb. But then I noticed something in the far corner behind the insulation, a sleeping bag. Next to it, food wrappers, empty water bottles, and an old notebook. Someone had been living there. My throat went dry. I backed down the ladder and called the police. They arrived 15 minutes later, searched the attic, and found no one. But the officer looked at me oddly when he came down. He said, "You said you found a notebook." I nodded. "It's gone now," he replied. I barely slept that night. Every sound made me jolt awake. Around 3 a.m, I heard the faint creak of floorboards above me again. Not fast, not panicked, just slow, careful steps. I didn't move. The steps came closer to the attic hatch and stopped right above my bedroom. Then 3 soft taps. Tap, tap, tap. I wanted to scream but couldn't. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling until morning. The next day, I told my friend Eric about it, and he agreed to stay the night. We set up 2 cameras, one facing the attic hatch, the other in the kitchen. Nothing happened until around 4 a.m, when both cameras glitched out for almost exactly 1 minute. When the footage resumed, the attic hatch was open. Eric went white. "We should leave," he whispered. But before we could, something fell from the attic, an old rusted key. It hit the floor between us. The cameras kept rolling as I reached down to pick it up. It was cold, too cold for how warm the room was. We left that night and called the landlord again. He sounded irritated, told me he'd handle it, and asked for the keys to the property. I moved out the next day, staying with Eric for a while. About a week later, I got a call from a detective. He asked if I was the tenant from that address. When I said yes, he paused for a moment, then said, "We found someone." They discovered a man, mid-40s, living in a crawl space connected to the attic. He'd been squatting there for months, maybe years, moving between houses through a shared ventilation shaft that the old buildings had. In the attic, they found drawings, hundreds of them, of the house, its rooms, and me, sleeping in my bed. But here's the part that still keeps me up at night. The man wasn't alive when they found him. He'd been dead for at least a week, which means when I heard those footsteps, when I saw that light flicker, when I got those motion alerts, someone else was up there. Or something. I've never gone back to that neighborhood. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear faint footsteps above my ceiling, even though I live in a third-floor apartment now, and I still keep my attic light switch taped off.